How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
I'm not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.
of them want to be out you.
Won't anybody help us? What are we running for? When there's nowhere we can run to anymore. Can't afford to be innocent. Stand up and face the enemy. It's a do or die situation. We will be invincible. And with the power of conviction, there is no sacrifice. It's a do or die situation. We will be invincible.
Who the fuck is Karlyn? She's just some sweet lady. She's like in a knitting. She does like a knitting stream. She's like a knitting YouTuber. She does knitting.
Can we grow up a little bit and
Alt
not
Girl
be
sent $200.
retarded?
Have you
Please.
seen the work of Karlyn Borysenko? Anti-commie cult leader and is obsessed with looking at what actual far-left communists are talking about and organizing today, infiltrating them. They infiltrated the universities, schools, media. She has the receipts to back it up. Primary source evidence. Infestation is dire and she calls Republicans idiots eating slop. Agree.
Thank you for the big super chat. Yeah, oh, I know Karlyn B. She's solid. She's funny. I
The
like
great
her.
noticer sent $200.
Literally.
So
not
it's,
Ian.
it's not because I haven't dangled my junk into the combat zone on purpose to get some camera footage, but that's the big part of what's the
Is
problem.
that what you call reporting?
Go
and live
under if
streaming?
you're going to do it.
Yeah,
go
seriously.
undercover. Otherwise, you're wearing a hunk of meat in a lion's den. Nick Shirley, I love you. Take care of yourself, man. Karlyn Borysenko went undercover. Do stuff like that. Like if you want to expose this thing, don't pariah.
But
Please.
Ian, here's and I agree with you to an extent.
What's up, everyone? What's up? What's up? Happy Tuesday. Hey, did anything eventful happen last night? Did anything happen last night after my stream, during Spy Stream? Did anything eventful happen last night on Spy Stream? Who was there for Spy Stream last night? One of you were there. Two of you sadly missed it, but you'll go next time. One if you were at Spy Stream last night. Two if you sadly missed it, but maybe you'll go next time, which will be tonight, by the way. The next Spy Stream's tonight. Yeah, did anything happen? Did anything eventful? Look at all the ones in the chat. For everyone that was at Spy Stream last night, let me ask you guys a question. For everyone who was at Spy Stream, because we had a bunch of people there, Spy Stream is when we go inside a live leftist training and we watch it live like we are a fly on the wall. And sometimes eventful things happen and sometimes they don't, but more often than not, they do. And you have to be a supporter, either as a channel member, a Substack supporter on one of the other platforms, whatever. You have to be a channel member to get access to Spy Stream, a supporter of some sort. Let me ask everyone a question. If you are one of the people that went to Spy Stream last night, was it worth the price of admission? Was it worth it? Was it worth the $5 a month or $8 a month or however much you guys are paying me a month? That's less than a cup of coffee that you get at Dunkin' Donuts now. Was it worth the price of admission? Let me know. One's in tell me know in the chat. We got hell yeah, it was 100%. Yes, 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 yes. You know, I'm not making these people chat in. I'm not making these people chat in. Was it worth the price of admission? Yeah, that's an overwhelming yes in the chat because, guys, if you haven't been to a Spy Stream before, you haven't lived because you never quite know what's going to happen. You really have no idea. You have no idea if you're going to sit there the whole time and be bored and get nothing out of it, or you have no idea if you're going to hear them talk about overthrowing the government and then getting a communist fired from his job over it, which has literally happened. I literally did that. I was the first person since the McCarthy era to get a college professor's tenure revoked for being a communist calling to overthrow the government. That happened last year, in case you never heard about it, because it wasn't covered anywhere but here. You might see stuff that goes viral on the internet. You might see stuff that ends up on Fox News. You never know what's going to happen on Spy Stream. And last night's Spy Stream, it was a banner event. And if you missed it, First of all, I'm so sorry you missed it, but if you did miss it, you can find the highlight reel, which is an hour and 17 minutes long. I don't know how much of a highlight reel it really is. Hour and 17 minutes long. Going through last night's spy stream. You can find that over on the Substack. It's right up here in the corner because we got our spy stream information there. The Democratic Socialists of America meet to discuss how to talk about non-socialists and MAGA, and then freak the fuck out when they figure out that non-socialists are watching because, I'm going to show you guys a little highlight clip. Of course, our friend Stacy is a socialist who is paying to try to sabotage my work. Or, I mean, to be honest, I haven't completely dismissed the idea that Stacy could be a conservative trying to sabotage my work, because that has happened more times than you might think, that a conservative would overtly pay me money to try to sabotage my work. That's happened far more. Actually, that's actually happened to me far more than leftists doing it, to be honest with you. But we do have someone who is literally paying me money to try to sabotage my work. And what she does is she follows me around and she obsesses about everything I do and she watches everything I do. Stacy's like my biggest fan. And she runs around and tries to go into the spy streams to warn them that I'm watching them. Well, last night, that kind of seemed to have the wrong effect. Because when we were watching the DSA meeting about how to talk to non-socialists last night, Stacy was far more disruptive to their meeting than I was. Stacy went right in there. She said, "This evil fascist is streaming you. Stop the stream. Stop the stream." And that freaked the DSA out so much that their entire meeting was literally derailed just because non-socialists were listening to them. Now, I'm going to say this again, and we're going to watch a little clip so that you guys know what we're talking about and you know what happened. In case you missed it, the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, last night had an entire training about how to talk to non-socialists. They did an entire 90-minute training specifically to teach socialists how to talk to non-socialists. And when they found out that non-socialists were watching them live, they were so freaked out about the whole thing that they derailed their entire meeting, and the entire thing became basically about me. But they also did actually have their meeting, so we actually got all the footage that we needed to, which is we know exactly how the Democratic Socialists of America are trying to train people to talk to MAGA, which is actually hilarious. If you watch the whole highlight reel, there was a whole role play exercise, and it's fucking hilarious. The DSA has no clue what they're talking about, and it's kind of funny. The DSA doesn't understand the average right-winger any more than the average right-winger understands the DSA. It was actually hilarious to watch. But I do have to thank our friend Stacy, because Stacy is actually making this more fun for me. Every time Stacy comes to try to sabotage one of the things I'm doing, it actually ends up even better than it was before. And guys, I need your help with something. I need your help. And I'm going to explain to you what I need your help with. But first, I'm going to just tee up this video. Here's what's going to happen, guys. Here's what's going to happen. Just in case you missed it, I'm going to play you the highlight reel of what happened last night in regards to the DSA finding out that I was streaming their meeting and how they all just worked themselves up into a tizzy. So you're going to see a highlight reel. But I have a challenge for everyone. And actually, everyone has already started me off well, because Cynthia's in here with the $20 super chat. Thanks so much, Cynthia. Happy Tuesday. Love you, Cynthia. Appreciate you. OC's in with the super sticker. Appreciate it. We got Cynthia in with the 5 channel memberships. W's in the chat for Cynthia. Another 5 from Cynthia. We got 1 from OC. W's in the chat for OC. And then he did an additional 5 on top of it. We got another 5 from Wolf. W's in the chat for Wolf. Thanks so much, bro. Another 5 from Cynthia. Another round of W's for Cynthia. We got Grace joining us today. Welcome to the cult, Grace. We appreciate you being here. So, guys, so far, we have been gifted 27 new channel memberships. Here is the challenge that I would like you all to help me out with at the very beginning of the stream. And then for the rest of the stream, I promise you, I will take you on a deep dive into revolutionary communist subculture like you have never, ever, 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 ever seen before. But I need your help in proving a point to the socialist saboteur that keeps trying to disrupt my work. Yo, Cynthia, in with the $50. Hi, Stacy. We pay Dr. K for this. We're watching you. Cynthia, you are reading my mind, girl. You are reading my mind. Because the thing of it is, guys, the thing of it is, there is nothing, I promise you nothing, that will make socialists and communists more pissed off than me making money off of showing you guys what is going on. There is nothing they hate more than capitalism. There is nothing they hate more than the free exchange of money between human beings when I provide you things that are valuable and I do a service to the community and you guys reward me with money. And guess what? No one has to pay for my work. I don't know why people call me a grifter all the time. Literally, no one has to pay for my work. The vast majority of what I do is free. The only reason I even do Spy Stream as a supporter exclusive is to protect the integrity of the stream so it doesn't get pulled out from under us in the middle of it, which happened when I used to keep it free for everyone. Hey, thanks Naruto for the member chat. Did you see all the Alexa commercials during the Super Bowl on Sunday detailing all the ways Alexa and AI can kill you? I didn't, Naruto. I didn't watch the Super Bowl, but I hope you enjoyed it and I'm glad you appreciated it. And thank you for being a member of the channel for 28 months. You rock. So guys, here's what I need everyone to do for me. We are going to engage for the next 7 minutes or so in pure, unadulterated capitalism. And I need you guys to help me absolutely spite that communist bitch Stacy, absolutely spite the Democratic Socialists of America, because tonight we have another supporter exclusive spy stream coming up starting at 7:30. And one of the ways that you can get into that spy stream, in fact, the only way you can get into that spy stream is by being a supporter of my work, either as a YouTube channel member, a Substack supporter, a local supporter, Patreon supporter, or Twitter subscriber. And I would like us in the next 5 to 7 minutes to reach 100 new channel memberships. So right now, with NFL gifting a channel membership, W's in the chat for NFL. Really appreciate you, bro. We are up to 28 channel memberships. Can we reach? Here's what I want to do. Here's what I want to do. And thank you, Dawn, for this super chat. I really appreciate it. Today, appreciate, yeah, I don't know how to say that, Dawn. I have no idea how to say that. But thank you so much for the money. I really do appreciate it. Here's what I'm going to do, guys. For all the people who missed it last night, we're just going to play this clip of what happened when the DSA were warned that I was streaming them. And this is for everyone's enjoyment. And hat tip to Bot for putting this together. I really appreciate it, Bot. And we're just going to watch this for everyone's enjoyment. And by the end of this clip is about 5 minutes long. By the end of this clip, I want 100 new channel memberships donated to the channel. So we already have 28. We are already 28% of the way there. At the end of this clip, I want to reach 100 new channel memberships in the next 5 minutes. And that's really going to piss off Stacy and the communists and bring 100 new channel members into our community for the spy stream tonight. PRITA, Capitalist Anti-Communist Fund for Karlyn exposing the communists every single day. We won't stop, Stacy. We're never going to stop. And the more you guys try to sabotage what I'm doing, the more money I am going to make and the more famous I'm going to get and the more people are going to watch my work. I promise you, Stacy, this is the Streisand effect, you stupid bitch. We like, there's nothing you can do to stop this train. We got a gifted membership from Ring the Bell W's. We got a gifted channel membership from Dan W's. We are now up to 30 channel members, guys. Okay. Can you guys achieve this goal? Do you guys think we can do this? If we have 30 channel memberships, what does that mean? We need 5, 10, 15, 20. Hang on. Let me think for a second. 14 of you. I had to do math in my head. I need 14 people watching right now on YouTube. There are 321 people watching. I don't want any excuses. I need 14 of you to gift 5 channel memberships in the next 5 minutes. Or alternatively, 7 of you to gift 10 channel memberships. Or we could even, go beyond that. We got Prita in with the 5 channel memberships. W's Prita. See, look at that. 13 left to go. So here's what I'm going to do, guys. I'm going to play this clip. And by the end of this clip, I have faith that we are going to reach our goal of 100 new channel memberships, and that's 100 more people who are coming to Spy Stream tonight, and there ain't shit Stacy can do about it. W's in the chat for Cynthia. Now we're up to 40, guys. 40% of the way to our goal. See how this works, Stacy? See how this works? All right, let me play the clip for people who missed it, and let's keep those gifted channel memberships rolling in, and we only need 60 more to achieve the goal in the next 5 minutes. That would be awesome.
You can say name.
Oh, hang on. Professional streamer on the internet. I need to set up the sound correctly. Professional, never forget, I'm a professional streamer on the internet. Yo, we got Easy Pass over on Rumble. Easy Pass with 10 gifted channel memberships over on Rumble. That brings us up to 50% of our goal. W's in the chat for Easy Pass over on Rumble. Really appreciate it, bro. Let's try this again.
You can say name, where you're coming from, your chapter, pronouns if you want, and what you're hoping to get out of the training, and what do you hope you can effectively respond to. All right, and I'm also going to answer. You can effectively respond. I'm also going to answer this email from someone who can't. Okay. Okay, so who's the person who's doing this? Colin, would you mind checking this? Stacy Long's comment here.
Yeah, I'm looking into it.
All right. Colin, did you manage to fix our question or our issue here? We're just gonna doing this for a couple of minutes here. I'm gonna also, we're still letting folks in. Could Guy, could you? I could actually take over that letting folks in if you wanted to get us started with the community agreements and introductions.
I'm with the Asheville chapter. I'm on the steering committee there.
Colin's helping out on tech stuff somewhere, but
oh right, sorry.
It's
But it's
me. I'm the next person. I'm the It's okay. I'm the chair of NPEC this year, and yep, we'll definitely be sharing the slides. I see that there. I'm gonna try something one more time. I'm so sorry, y'all. We received a request to record to the cloud. Is somebody trying to record this? Is this anybody? Guy, are you requesting this?
it was not me.
Okay, I'm actually going to deny it because I think there are too many people on this call, and we should get everyone's consent before they are recorded. But I'm going to stop sharing for just a second because I think there's something weird happening here.
All right. Well, so we came here because we want to talk to non-socialists. Obviously, folks that are movable, we're not going to talk to the same way that we, I guess we talked to this fascist that was previously trying to record this, our political opponents, in state, county, federal government, billionaires, our friends, family, neighbors, chums, acquaintances. With all those folks, we're going to take a different tenor and talk to those folks different than we would say our adversaries.
Colin, could you please take care of whatever's going on in the chat? I don't really understand it. Thanks. So with active listening, what you do is basically take these 4 points, which is you want to make sure that you actually are in connection with the person. So this little picture of these two pink girls before this, they're facing each other, right? Like they actually have like an engaged conversation that you are not just trying to get away from them. Like, why not like take the opportunity? That's why all of these folks are here, besides the ones who are trying to, I guess, dox us or something. But you know, you're here because you want to learn kind of some new techniques, maybe practice some things and share with others, like maybe some of your concerns about your own capacities and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna move on, unless anybody has any questions. What we're gonna do is wait a couple seconds here.
Well, sadly, we had a total failure of the chat to follow through on what I said. So now I'm even wondering, guys, should I even continue to the stream today? Should I continue? We have 368 people watching on YouTube, and I couldn't get people to donate channel memberships. Guys, let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation. I give away a lot of my work for free. I give away the vast majority of my... I am so disappointed in you guys for missing this goal. I'm bringing you inside leftist trainings. I'm exposing you to content on the internet no one else is showing you. I am secretly recording the people that you claim are your greatest enemies. And I can't get people... that. You want to know why? You want to know why I almost quit for years? You want to know why? Because I can't get people to fund my work. That's it. That's it. So I'm even wondering now, listen, I gave you guys a goal of hitting 100 channel memberships, and we're up to 76. I really appreciate everyone who sent in a channel membership. I don't want anyone to think that I'm upset about the people who sent it. We got Hans sent in 10. We got Wolf sent in another 5. We got Nick sending in another 5. We got Cynthia sending in another 5. We had Julie sending in 1 during the video. Awesome. Awesome. I really appreciate everyone's generosity. We have 370 people watching right now on YouTube. We even had people on Rumble donating channel memberships. Guys, should I just end the stream? What are we even doing here? What are we even doing here? You guys know W's in the chat for ring the bell with another 5 gifted channel memberships. Now we're rolling. Now we're rolling. We're not moving on, guys, unless we hit the 100 goal. This is how the communists win. If you guys want to complain about it, I don't know what to tell you, man. The only way to fight communism is by actually funding anti-communist work. If you don't want to fund anti-communist work, what are we even doing here? What are we even doing here? I can't make my stuff free for everyone, guys, if people are not willing to fund it. It's just the way it goes. And Cynthia, W's in the chat for Cynthia again. Cynthia should not be doing all the heavy lifting, is all I'm saying. If you find this stuff valuable, I just gave you a whole bunch of people earlier that said this is well worth the price of admission. We got another 5 from Hans. It's the same people. It's the same people. Why aren't any new people funding this? W's in the chat for Hans, though. I really do appreciate it. Guys, listen, if we get 20 people, just 20 people giving 5 channel memberships, the goal already would have been met. Instead, I mean, we got people giving a lot of channel memberships, and I really do appreciate it. We are 9 away. 9 more channel memberships away. And then I will show you content on the internet no one else is showing you, and we'll spend a lot of time on it, and we'll break it down. You guys decide if we continue this or not. We got another 5 from Tolkien Fan. W's in the chat for Tolkien Fan. Guys, we got 4 more. 4 more, 5 more, 4 more. We got 1. We got 1. We got 3 more. Yo, blowing out the goal. Blowing out the goal like a Greek god. W's in the chat for Greek Heat. With not 5, not 10, not 15, but 20 gifted channel memberships. See, guys, sometimes that's going to cajole you guys a little bit more. That's all good. All good. Hey, thank you everyone for donating over 100 new channel memberships. We now have up to 117 new channel members. And guess what, guys? That is 117 more people that will be able to join us. Not that one. That one. That will be able to join us tonight for Spy Stream. Because tonight at 7:30, we are watching another live leftist training. And I will show you exactly what they're saying live. As though you are a fly on the wall, I will show you exactly what they have planned. You don't have to take my word for anything. All I do is show you explicitly what the left is saying when they think people like us aren't listening. So that will be at 7:30 tonight. Sandy says, should I become a channel member? I'm a Substack member. Sandy, if you are a Substack member, you have access to it through the Substack. So I like Substack members. Substack's actually my preferred platform. So you're welcome to be a member there. And I really, really do appreciate it. So you get access to all the content. Thank you so much for supporting my work. We got Grillis here with the super sticker. Thank you for that, bro. I really do appreciate it, Daniel. Thank you for everything. We got Jennifer joining the cult. Welcome. Welcome to the cult, Jennifer. Your life is over. You're never going to see the world the same way again. We will change the way you see everything. You're never leaving, but we appreciate you being here, and you're going to have friends during the Marxist Revolution. There, guys, we made it. We made it. Now, how do you find the spy stream? Well, let me show you. Let me show you. If you are a new channel member, how you find the spy stream is you go, this is only for YouTube channel members. If you are on my Substack, you find the spy stream there. If you're on my locals, my Patreon, my Twitter subscriptions, you find the spy stream link on whatever platform you're supporting on. For YouTube channel members specifically, here's what you do. You go to my YouTube channel homepage, you go to the post tab, and on the post tab, the very first thing you are going to see is the link for Spy Stream tonight. So that is how I share Spy Stream out with YouTube channel members. It is not a YouTube member stream because I have to invite people from other platforms as well, but you can find the link to it on the YouTube post homepage, and that's only for channel members. I appreciate you asking. Okay, so now that we have met our goal, and better late than never, that's fine, that's fine. Who wants to watch the Denver Communist today? Yo! Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the cult. Really appreciate you being here, bro. You're never leaving. Your life is over, but we'll be friends during the Marxist Revolution, so that's cool. Poor homeschool mom here, but I love you. Oh, I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for your donation. It means a lot to me. I'm glad you're enjoying what I'm doing. Okay, one in the chat. One in the chat if you have watched the Denver Communists with me before. Two in the chat if you are entirely new to the Denver Communists. We watch the Denver Communists quite a bit on this channel, but we haven't watched them in a second. And so there are a lot of new people on the channel, and I want to know who's seen them before. Hey, Pete, thanks for the super chat. I wonder if Stacy'd like to wind up on a federal watch list. And I know that you know that I know how to do that. Well, let's do it, man. Can we put that bitch on a federal watch list? I would really appreciate that, Pete. Thanks so much for the super chat. War Gobble over on Rumble, $10. Stacy sucks. See, I knew you guys would come through. You just did it after the deadline, and that's totally fine, man. We got there. We got there. Better late than never. I do appreciate all the support. All right. So we got a bunch of people who have never watched the Denver Communists before. The reason we like the Denver Communists is several-fold. Number one, the Denver Communists produce a fuck ton of content, and they put it all out on their YouTube channel. It is like a little gift in YouTube, where if you want to know what revolutionary communists think on any subject, the Denver Communists probably have a video about it, where they are explaining explicitly how they feel about any given subject. So they've got a massive archive of content. That is part of why we watch them so much. They also do very plain language explanations. So with the Denver Communists, they usually are a little bit more plain spoken. So it can be easier for people who are new to listening to the far left and listening to socialism. It can be easier for them to kind of like integrate in with it, because some socialists speak in just very flowery socialist language, and you will learn to speak that language after a while. You'll learn to become fluent in it. But the Denver Communists are just good for new people to get you accustomed to how the language sounds. And their presentation style is a little bit more engaging than other communist groups. So one of the good things about the Denver Communists is they do a lot of shorter presentations. So I've got a bunch of stuff queued up today that and oh, by the way, if you're like, where have I heard of the Denver Communists before? That's where. This was the first introduction for most people to the Denver Communists, when they had this little membership booth at some sort of event in Colorado, when they had a sign, Charlie Kirk had it coming, changed my mind. Did anyone see this go viral on the internet? That's the group. That's the same one. That's who we're watching today. But per usual, I've been watching the Denver Communists for years. I've been keeping track of the Denver Communists for years and years and years. We have watched a ton of their stuff. But this was most people's introduction to them. Okay, what do I have queued up? We have this presentation called The path to socialism requires border abolition. That seems to be pretty on the nose. We've got this one, the uses and misuses of privilege. So if you want to know what they mean when they say white privilege, I think they're going to talk to us about that. We've got this one. This is with Steve Lee, too. Steve Lee is one of our favorites. Steve Lee is actually in the Seattle Revolutionary Socialists, but the Seattle Revolutionary Socialists are aligned with the Denver Communists. So they do a lot of presentations together. Steve Lee is the best. We have Steve Lee on video multiple times talking about overthrowing the government, literally. A Marxist View of U.S. History by Steve Lee. We've got this one, liberal versus revolutionary identity politics. Guys, do you know that the far left fundamentally rejects identity politics? This is one of the reasons why revolutionaries are far different than liberals. Liberals embrace identity politics. The far left rejects identity politics because they believe that all identity groups are social constructs created by capitalism. So the far left does not like identity politics at all, and you're going to hear them say that in this presentation. And if we still have more to get through, because we have about 2 hours to kill before our spy stream, Born This Way, biology, environment, gender, and sexual orientation. But this one's about a half hour long. It's the longest one of the bunch. So we're going to save that for the end, just in case we need it. And if we don't get to it, we will get to it another day. So does that sound like a W stream? You guys want to watch some Denver Communists? 1 in the chat if you're ready to go and watching some Denver Communists. 2 in the chat if you're like, Karlyn, this is too fucking crazy. I'm out of here. Let me know. Let me know. 1 in the chat if you're ready to go and you want to watch some Denver Communists. 2 in the chat if you're like, Karlyn, this is fucking insane. I'm out of here. It is insane, by the way. It is insane. It is dystopian. You're going to hear them say all sorts of crazy shit. I've never seen any of these presentations, but I know just based on having watched the Denver Communists for years that they're going to say crazy shit in these presentations. And the thing of it is, too, you guys are hearing it directly from them. This is not me editorializing. Listen, the DSA can whine and complain and be like, she's clipping us out of context, which I didn't do, by the way. The fucking highlight reel is 1 hour and 17 minutes long. I just clipped the long clips where the sections where it mattered. I only use primary source evidence, guys. Oh, wait. Look at this. Look at this. We have our first conservative retard in the chat. You are fooling no one, you psyop fraud, pedo ex-husband. No, wrong, completely wrong. Green card marriage, also completely wrong. No kids, that's true enough. 300 pounds, I'm very sorry, bro. My weight has a 1 in front of it, not a 2 or a 3. I used to cut and dye hair like... He's upset about my haircut. Astrology, yup, I do believe in astrology. P.S. Andy, no, greater than you. Hey, listen, bro, listen. There's content creators for everyone on the internet. If you want people to lie to you, if you want to be misinformed, if you want to look like a retarded loser, go ahead and listen to Andy No. Go ahead. Andy No's never going to show you the Denver Communists. Andy No has probably never even watched the Denver Communists. I would be shocked if Andy No knew the Denver Communists existed besides when they went viral on Twitter for that Charlie Kirk image. So if you want to be a misinformed loser retard on the internet, that is a perfect place for you to go to. Go follow Andy No's content. He doesn't live in the United States. He doesn't do his own journalism. He pays for other people to do his journalism for him. He only reports on things that go viral on Twitter. I am years ahead of Andy No. You understand that, right? I'm literally years ahead of him, but there's always a place for slow, retarded, low IQ users on the internet, and that place is not here. So I'm pretty sure the chat has spoken. Chat, should I deport this retard from the channel? 1 in the chat if I should deport the loser from the channel so we can maintain our standards of a high IQ exclusive community. 2 in the chat if he should stay. 1 for deport, 2 for stay. Very sorry, bro. That looks like a lot of deports. A lot of deports. It's you, not us. We have standards on this channel. We are an exclusive community. We are not a conservative safe space for feelings. Go follow your bliss on the retard side of the internet. All right, guys. All right. Now that we've had that preamble, now that we have welcomed 119 new channel memberships, now that you guys have hooked me up with a bunch of super chats, let's get this party started. We are watching the Denver Communists all day today. If you guys have questions about what these presentations are saying, please do ask questions. This is especially true for new people. The only way you are going to learn is to ask questions when you don't understand something. Otherwise, I might assume that you understand it and I'm not going to explain it, okay? So do not be afraid to ask questions. We love answering questions that are asked in good faith. We just don't do shit posting. We don't do retard bullshit here. This is a high IQ space, not a low IQ space. So we have standards, but any good faith questions are welcome and will be answered either by me or people in the chat. The only thing that I ask is please keep the questions relevant to what we are actually watching, because I know that there are a lot of new people with a lot of questions, but every time you ask a question that has nothing to do with what we're watching, it derails the entire stream for everyone, okay? So you will get all your questions answered over the course of time, but like sometimes we need to focus on one subject area at a time. And I promise you, just get a notebook. Get a notebook, write down the questions. I have people on my channel for years that have had entire notebooks dedicated to just studying this, okay? So get a notebook, write it down. If it's not relevant, ask it another time. I'm not saying I won't answer it. K1, don't do this bullshit in the chat. No, don't do that bullshit. I'm not saying I won't answer, but like I'm saying that it's going to be answered over the course of time, all right? The first one we're going to watch. Oh. Master Shake, it is taking all the willpower and self-restraint I have. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. We are not going to watch a hardcore porn star pretend to be an expert in something that she's not an expert in. But I have to tell you, it's taking all of the willpower I have to say I don't want to watch this right now. But here's what we will do. Here's what we will do. I'm going to put it aside and we're going to watch it on Friday. Okay? Friday. I have an Owen video that I want to watch for Friday. I have now this Christina Buttons bullshit. Let's just where I'm exercising so much self-restraint right now, you have no idea, because Christina Buttons is a hardcore porn star that has no fucking business talking about any of this. She doesn't understand it. She's not even that intelligent. The only reason people know who she is she's fucking Colin Wright, who probably didn't know that she was a hardcore porn star when he started fucking her the first time. She also tricked Christopher Rufo and the Manhattan Institute into hiring her as an analyst when she doesn't do any analysis. And OPS, her biggest claim to fame is she's a hardcore porn star that starred in at least 25 hardcore porn movies over the course of several years. It wasn't just a one slip up and an accident like, oops, I was in one porn movie. She was a hardcore porn star that literally starred in dozens of hardcore porn movies over the course. For people who don't know, this is supposed to be the conservative expert on the far left, except she's not conservative. She's not a fucking expert. All she is a hardcore porn star that is fucking a senior fellow at the Manhattan Institute who probably didn't know she was a hardcore porn star when he started fucking her. And yeah, her porn name, if you don't believe me, her porn name was Rita Lovely. You can look it up yourself. Not safe for work. I don't say I didn't warn you. So it's taking all the self-restraint I have to say that, no, people have already paid me, bro. People have paid me in the form of super chats and channel memberships. The people want the Denver Communists, okay? So we're gonna put Rita Lovely, the hardcore porn star, aside, and we're gonna watch the Denver Communists, all right? But really, that was a good one. That was a good one. You were this fucking close. All right, everyone refocus. I know all the men in the chat are now thinking about boobs, but I need everyone to refocus. We're talking about border abolition, okay? Everyone refocus. We're not talking about tits right now. We are talking about border abolition and communism. We're going to start watching now, and we're going to move on. Thank you.
Is uniquely romantic about its self-described nature as a melting pot of cultures and identity as a nation of immigrants. Although it would be functionally impossible to deny the US was built, willingly or otherwise, by a diverse workforce, these phrases misrepresent the oppression and exclusion which is innate to and inseparable from borders and immigration controls. As socialists, we must understand how borders, immigration, and citizenship are wielded by capitalism as a weapon against the working.
Did we already have capitalism? As a reminder, okay, we're all refocusing. The reason the left wants to abolish borders is that they believe borders are the enforcement mechanism of capitalism. This is why they are anti-ICE. They are anti-border. Borders denote private property. Capitalism is defined as private property ownership. You cannot have capitalism, private property ownership, without having a border. So the abolition of borders and the abolition of ICE is directly related to capitalism because capitalism created the borders in the first place. You don't have private property on the form of land without having a border. Does everyone understand? Listen again.
A melting pot of cultures and identity as a nation of immigrants. Although it would be functionally impossible to deny the US was built, willingly or otherwise, by a diverse workforce, these phrases misrepresent the oppression and exclusion which is innate to and inseparable from borders and immigration controls. As socialists, we must understand how borders, immigration, and citizenship are wielded by capitalism as a weapon against the working class. We must staunchly support the complete abolition of borders, as well as the regimes which enforce them and work toward what Harsha Walia describes as no borders politics. This is not hyperbole. To understand why this position is a non-negotiable, we first need to understand how borders and narratives of immigration create and sustain systematic oppression. Although the example of the US-Mexico border is the focus of this week's material, it is important to remember these conditions are not unique to the United States.
Just for the record, I'm not going to say who this is, but I'm going to give them a shout out. People have been trying to figure out who Stacy Long is for weeks. I shit you not, guys. People have been sending me all sorts of tips on who is Stacy Long, who is Stacy Long, who is Stacy Long for weeks. And usually they're not researched, and usually it's all the same person, and the person doesn't actually fit. I just received a message on Whatnot. This is yet another Whatnot victory. I think we may have found her. I think someone has found her. I think someone found Stacy Long Chalou, Chalous, from Minnesota with a profile photo, and I look green now, but that'll go away in a second, that says the only thing more powerful than hate is love. I don't know that for sure that this is the Stacy Long, but if this turns out to be the correct Stacy Long, I'll put the name in the chat. From Minnesota, name spelled correctly, and that tip came in from Whatnot. That tip came in from fucking Whatnot. I still look green for some reason. This is like the most epic fucking Whatnot victory that has ever happened. This is greater than any purse that I bought on Whatnot, or all the skincare products that I bought on Whatnot, or the Valentine's Day presents for Victor that I bought on Whatnot. Or the Christmas presents that I bought for Victor on Whatnot. This might be the most epic fucking Whatnot victory ever of all time. So let's look into this person, Stacy. Let's look into this person and find out if this is actually who we're looking for. That's something to investigate. So thank you. Blessings to the Whatnot fairy that just graced my chat with this piece of information. And that's awesome. That's awesome. Whatnot mystery solved.
States. They apply equally to all border regimes across the globe. Borders vary in their history, not in their utility. Paul Diamato's article, Open to Capital but Not Labor, describes how immigration policies divide workers into different groups based on race, nation, language, and/or citizenship status, then ruthlessly pits those groups against one another to drive down
No,
wages,
we've already
deny
dismissed it.
basic rights.
We've already dismissed this one. We've already dismissed that one. There's not enough evidence for that one.
Or I'm sorry, deny basic benefits and break strikes. Pigeonholing certain workers into second or third class status, or in many cases, non-citizen status, prevents those workers from fighting for better working conditions out of fear of having their status revoked. As Diamato puts it, quote, the threat of imprisonment and deportation is a strong incentive not to organize for higher wages and better conditions, end quote. When migrants are hired for lower wages, their own exploitation is then used as a weapon to demonize them for stealing American jobs. However, the reality is that when working conditions are made worse for any group of workers, conditions become worse for all groups of workers. Diamato explains, quote, the only way the labor movement can improve the conditions for all is by raising the conditions of the most oppressed and exploited sections, not by scapegoating them. There is, of course, a political facet to scapegoating immigrants, and one way in which Diamato highlights this is through describing the Palmer raids, which occurred from 1919 to 1921, where thousands of immigrants organizing with the Left Labor Party were detained and deported after propaganda was used to foment anti-immigrant sentiment. Diamato points out modern iterations of the same tactic in the harassment and deportation of Arab and Muslim immigrants during the post-9/11 hysteria. The same xenophobia continues to this day. Last weekend, ICE detained Mahmoud Khalil, a pro-Palestinian organizer and permanent resident of the U.S., and the Trump administration has rapidly.
I should make the point to say, this is not a recent presentation. We are watching this more for like a general attitude and general information about what these people believe. We're not watching these presentations because of their recency. We're watching it because of like the depth in which they go into their ideology. These, by the way, these meetings are recorded in their private meetings to each other. So I should make that clear. What these presentations are what happens in the Denver Communist meetings, and I know because I've been in them. The Denver Communists basically have these meetings where they give presentations to each other and then they record them and they put them on the internet later for archival purposes. So you have to remember, this is not something they're putting on the internet to educate the masses. This is something they're doing in a private Zoom call where they're talking to each other about the ideology and they're teaching each other about the ideology. And that is how these groups function. Hey, thanks so much for the super chat, Andrew. Found one that works for the independent school district in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. I think this is looking like a really good candidate for the Stacey Long that we've been looking for. I think that this is like the most promising one yet. Thanks so much for the super chat. I appreciate it.
Threatened to deport the former Columbia student for his terrorism. Hector Rivera's article, The Path to Socialism Requires Border Abolition, addresses the common myth that the policies of Democrats and liberal politicians are measurably more humane and progressive than those of Republicans and conservatives. Rivera makes the case that Biden's immigration policy largely mirrored Trump's policy and resulted in continued deportations, abuses at detention centers, denials of asylum and refuge, and violence at the border.
That was promising,
The author
Reagan.
also describes Biden's immigration proposal, the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021, as similar to other guest worker programs that amount to indentured servitude. As Rivera writes, quote, for all their supposed differences, the Republicans and Democrats are ruling class parties committed to enforcement-only immigration policies.
So basically what they're saying is, for people who are new, the Republicans and the Democrats are the same thing. They do not believe there's a difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. They believe that Democrats are just as fascist as Republicans. Listen to them shit on the Democrats again.
There also describes Biden's immigration proposal, the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021, as similar to other guest worker programs that amount to indentured servitude. As Rivera writes, quote, for all their supposed differences, the Republicans and Democrats are ruling class parties committed to enforcement-only immigration policies that safeguard the interests of U.S. imperialism, end quote. Rivera also dives into the history of U.S. citizenship and immigration law, to showcase discrimination and exclusion are inherent to its nature, beginning with the explicitly racist Naturalization Act of 1790, which
Explicitly
provided
racist.
citizenship to, quote, any alien being a free white person, end quote. After the American invasion of Mexico, the new border was used to expel and keep Mexicans out of the new territories and to prevent escaped slaves from leaving. With the passing of the Dawes Act of 1887, Indigenous people who survived extermination campaigns were required to relocate to reservations and give up tribal lands in order to become US citizens. Immigration and citizenship laws such as the Page Act and Chinese Exclusion Act were, as Rivera explains, selectively enforced to attack oppressed populations. Rivera shows how these policies act in lockstep.
Okay, so I want people to understand what's being said here. Borders exclude people from land. Borders, in this case, exclude Mexicans from the United States. That means that borders, which capitalism created borders are excluding Mexicans from being in America. That means that borders are explicitly racist, and that racism was created by capitalism. Does everyone understand this? Capitalism created the borders. The borders are racist because they keep Mexicans out of the United States. They exclude people from the land. That is the argument against private property, is it is exclusionary. Capitalism created borders. Borders created racism. Therefore, capitalism created racism. This is what we mean when we say whiteness means capitalism. Whiteness is not about skin color. Whiteness is about the system of capitalism that created private property ownership that fundamentally excludes some people from the private property and is therefore racist because it excludes people from the private property. It's always about private property. Yes, capitalism means private property ownership. Do they believe in a one world government? Not in the same way as the WEF does. It's two different things. So socialists believe that that the only way for socialism to be successful is if there's no borders and no countries, because they believe that a socialist country cannot survive within the midst of capitalist countries. And so are they in favor of a one world government? Yes, but not in the same way as like the WEF techno-fascists. Those are two different groups. They have similar goals, but they don't work together and they don't like each other. The way I used to explain it is like, this is like the Red Sox and the Yankees. They're both baseball teams. They both have the same goal of winning the World Series. They're going to fight at some point. That's what it is.
Step with free trade agreements such as NAFTA, which in actuality create the very conditions that lead to displacement. Whereas D'Amato and Rivera focus on the mechanics and history of borders and immigration, especially the US-Mexico border, Liam Howe's interview with Harsha Walia examines deeper concepts of immigration, including how it is interrelated to other liberation struggles and how migration can be seen as both an act of individual self-determination and as an expression of decolonial reparations and redistribution long due. She stresses how border abolition is.
Hey, thanks two ladies. Appreciate it. My family donation today. Much respect, Karlyn. Jenny and Julietta say hi also. Hi, Jenny and Julietta. Appreciate you. Appreciate your dad. Thanks so much for the ongoing support. You guys are the best. Thanks so much. Yeah, and by the way, I agree with this. Someone said something about a phone number. Guys, I don't want anyone harassing this woman yet. We don't know that this is the real person. So I don't want anyone making phone calls. I don't want anyone sending emails. I did not say that. All I said is we've got a really viable candidate and I want to know more about her. I did not call for anyone to harass this woman or do anything like that. We do not do that until we know for sure that that is the woman, okay? No posting phone numbers, no sending harassing emails, no sending messages on Twitter or Instagram or any of those. I completely denounce all that behavior. We do not know that that's her yet. We have to verify before we do those things.
Is inextricably connected to racial liberation movements, by pointing to the U.S. border's role as the linchpin in the exclusion of Mexicans from the U.S., the hunting of escaped slaves, and the genocide of indigenous tribes. She further states that many migrants to
Yeah,
the
this is not
US-Mexico
Libsy
border are
TikTok.
indigenous
We don't do
themselves,
that shit.
and a large portion of migrants and refugees in Mexico are from Haiti and Africa. She explains, quote, "What is crucial here is that the racial expropriation of land, labor, and life itself is innate to capitalism.
Oh,
Capitalism,"
whoa. Again, please.
she explains, quote, "What is crucial here is that the racial expropriation of land, labor, and life itself is innate to capitalism."
The expropriation of the land, labor, and life itself is innate to capitalism. Again, one more time.
She explains, quote, "What is crucial here is that the racial expropriation of land, labor, and life itself is innate to capitalism."
So again, you're hearing them say this. This is their training. What they are saying is the borders that private property creates, the racial exclusion that these borders create is innate to capitalism. They're telling you capitalism created borders and that capitalism created racism. Does everyone understand? One in the chat if you're confused. Two in the chat if you understand. One if you're confused, two if you understand. It's okay to be confused, but like I need people to say that they're confused, otherwise I can't help you. One if you're confused, two if you understand. No debunking, no debunking. This is about learning what she believes, not learning what you believe. Okay, cool. One more time and we're going to let it play. Guys, if you don't understand, do you want to know why you don't understand? Because you're listening to debunk them, you're not listening to them. The first thing that came out of your mouth was a debunk. This is about understanding their ideology. This is not about what you believe is historically true. This is not about the dictionary definition of anything. Your issue is you need to listen to what they are saying without trying to debunk them so you can understand what they believe. This is not about agreeing with them. This is about learning about your enemy. And no amount of debunks will ever change what they believe. You can say, but this, but that, but the other thing. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. Only because people have thoughts and feelings, common sense, do they believe that people are innately capitalist or not when they're born. This isn't about, you're confused. You think this is about individuals. This has nothing to do with individuals. This has to do with, they're collectivists. They're not individualists. No one is saying anyone is innately anything. What they are saying is capitalism, which is defined as private property ownership, created borders. Borders exclude people on the basis of skin color, like Mexicans staying the fuck out of America. That means that capitalism created racism when it created borders. This has nothing to do with whether or not people are innately born capitalists. That has nothing to, that is so far off base. This is about the system of capitalism that created racism through private property ownership.
She explains, quote, "What is crucial here is that the racial..."
No, this is a debunk. We don't allow this here. This has nothing to do with what's being discussed. They believe capitalism started in ancient Sumeria. So there is no historical reference that you can give them to say, did you know that capitalism didn't, they don't give a fuck. This is not about your historical narrative. This is about what they believe, not about what you believe.
Appropriation of land, labor, and life itself is innate to capitalism. Capitalism actually relies on, requires, and reproduces racial hierarchies. In that sense, there can be no anti-capitalism that is not also anti-racist.
It's almost as if I teed that up perfectly, but I didn't even know what she was going to say. It's almost as though I've watched so much socialism that I know it just instinctually what is about to come out of these people's mouths at any given time. Again, just to reinforce the point I just made that capitalism created racism, I think everyone needs to listen.
And life itself is innate to capitalism. Capitalism actually relies on, requires, and reproduces racial hierarchies.
Bing.
In that sense, there can be no anti-capitalism that is not also anti-racist, and there can be no anti-racism that is not also anti-capitalist.
There can be no anti-capitalism that is not also anti-racism. There can be no anti-racism without there also being anti-capitalism. This is not about skin color, guys. It never was. When they talk about whiteness, white supremacy, racism, they mean the system of capitalism because they believe that capitalism created all racism. This is probably the most difficult thing for people to wrap their heads around because so many people come out of the conservative ecosystem where they're just taught the left hates white people. The left doesn't give a flying fuck about white people. When they say whiteness, they mean capitalism. They believe capitalism created racism. They believe racism cannot be solved without abolishing capitalism. And you just heard them say it. This is not, I didn't make this video. They made this video. Does everyone understand? Everyone needs to unlearn the conservative bullshit narrative that this has to do with white skin color. It has nothing to do with white skin color at all. And if you see any influencer that's talking about white people, white people, white people, white people, you need to stop listening to them because they don't know what they're talking about and they are misinforming their audience. You will be more stupid if you listen to them than if you stop and just listen to what the left has to say. Let's listen to that one more time, just so people can really understand this.
Quote, what is crucial here is that the racial expropriation of land, labor, and life itself is innate to capitalism. Capitalism actually relies on, requires, and reproduces racial hierarchies. In that sense, there can be no anti-capitalism that is not also anti-racist, and there can be no anti-racism that is not also anti-capitalist. Walia reframes the conversation as a displacement and immobility crisis instead of the common border or migrant crisis, which shifts the focus of examination to the causes of displacement and inability to move freely. She states framing the issue as a border or migrant crisis is a pretext to shore up further border securitization and repressive practices of detention and deportation. Whenever the state claims a crisis, its responses end up in the service to the state. Walia also expresses that the current framing of a migrant or border crisis implies the US is the victim of this crisis instead of its designer. She rejects national leftist movements that hold the position that the form of the nation state can guard against the ills of globalized neoliberal capitalism.
So they reject leftist movements that believe that the United States should have borders. Because borders are fundamental. This is why the anti-ICE activism is so relevant on the far left, because borders are fundamental to their entire belief system. No, they're not double speaking. They're not double speaking. That's a reflection of the fact that you don't understand the language. Just because you don't understand the language does not mean they're doing anything. This is how they are in their private environments. Your job is to learn the language so you can understand what they're saying. This is the Denver Communists. The entire stream is called the Denver Communists.
Because, quote, and this one is quite long, but quote, capitalism requires labor to be constantly segmented and differentiated, whether across race, gender, ability, caste, or citizenship. These stratifications cheapen labor because there is no such thing as cheap labor. The conditions of capitalism and other forms of manufactured vulnerability create cheapened labor. Lack of full and permanent immigration status is key to creating tools of hyper-exploitable cheapened labor. Borders are not in.
So immigration, and we'll let the rest of this play in a second. Immigration status is about cheapening the labor of the Mexican immigrants in order to feed the capitalist system. And in order to do that, that requires a border. Okay? You get rid of the border. This is their philosophy. I'm explaining what they think. I'm not telling you what I think. They believe that if you get rid of the border, you get rid of the cheap Mexican labor that is being exploited under capitalism. It's capitalism in the border that's creating the exploitation of Mexican labor. Do you guys understand? Listen again.
Create cheapened labor. Lack of full and permanent immigration status is key to creating tools of hyper exploitable cheapened labor. Borders are not intended to exclude intended to exclude all people or to deport all people, but to create conditions of deportability, which in turn increases social and labor precarity. End quote. The solution to this, Willia continues, is
welcome to the Denver Communists. There's a reason I wanted to watch the Denver Communists, especially for new people. This session is a gold mine, learning so much. Oh, we've just got started, bro. We still have an hour more before Spy Stream.
Is to fight for the rights of all workers, including and especially migrant workers, to have legal status, rights to organize and unionize, and rights to labor and safety protections. As is often the case, the reality of immigration is complex and nuanced. Despite this, our stance as socialists is simple and clear. No one is illegal. Understanding how integral borders are to the functioning of capitalism means our position can be nothing less than the abolition of them entirely.
She just said it again. We love the Denver Communists. Understanding how integral the borders are to capitalism means we can only argue for the abolition of the border. This is why they are arguing to abolish ICE. The abolition of ICE, all of the anti-ICE activism, is only and exclusively about abolishing capitalism because ICE upholds the borders. The borders were created by capitalism. Once you guys understand this trick that everything is about capitalism and how it relates back to private property ownership, you will understand the left. They are incredibly consistent in this regard. America is private property. The border around America makes it all private property because the border excludes people from coming to America. I got you. What's better, joining YouTube or subscribing on X? EP, do whichever you want. Whichever you want. I personally think the YouTube chat is better, but if you want to hang out over on X, subscribe on X. You can find the link for Spy Stream over there, or you can come over here. Whichever you prefer, bro. It's entirely up to you. I appreciate you joining us. Listen again.
Despite this, our stance as socialists is simple and clear. No one is illegal. Understanding how integral borders are to the functioning of capitalism means our position can be nothing less than the abolition of them entirely. We must adhere to no borders politics and work toward dismantling borders as well as the oppressive systems which necessitate them.
Oh, there it is again. So clear, so clear. Seeker, we love you. We appreciate you holding down the X chat. I'm just saying that there are more people on YouTube than on X. But maybe you guys can recruit more friends over on X. I do appreciate all of my X watchers and all of my X viewers. You guys are awesome. Please share the stream, all that good stuff. I'm just saying we have more people on YouTube. There's also more people on Rumble. You can go to Rumble too. Follow your bliss, girl. Do whatever you want. Let's listen to that one more time. Just so people really get it. This is what we do, guys, when we're listening to socialist content. We listen to it several times. The reason that I keep rewinding to make people listen to it several times is I want you to hear the language in real life. I want you to hear over and over again how the language shows up, because once you learn how the language shows up, you will understand the left. This is all about, this is like in French class where you have to repeat bonjour, je suis la, whatever the fuck. It's been years since I've taken French. I don't remember any of it. But it's like in French or Spanish class where you have to repeat the same line over, like donde está la biblioteca or whatever, the only thing I know how to say in Spanish. You have to repeat the same thing over and over again to learn the language. That's why we listen to things multiple times, so that everyone can hear it multiple times, so that you know how it sounds in the real world. Welcome, EP, to the cult. We appreciate it, bro.
End quote. The solution to this, Willia continues, is to fight for the rights of all workers, including and especially migrant workers, to have legal status, rights to organize and unionize, and rights to labor and safety protections. As is often the case, the reality of immigration is complex and nuanced. Despite this, our stance as socialists is simple and clear. No one is illegal. Understanding how integral borders are to the functioning of capitalism means our position can be nothing less than the abolition of them entirely. We must adhere to no borders politics and work toward dismantling borders as well as the oppressive systems which necessitate them. As
Capitalism.
Walia describes, it includes the freedom to stay and the freedom to move, meaning that no one should be forcibly displaced from their homes and lands, and that people should have the freedom to move with safety and dignity.
That's it. That's it. That is 9 minutes. It took us a half hour at least to go through the 9-minute presentation about borders. 1 in the chat if you just learned something new about the far left that you didn't know before. 2 in the chat if you learned nothing and you knew all that. 1 in the chat if you just learned something new. 2 in the chat if you didn't learn anything from that and you knew it all already. Let me know. Let me know. We've got more to come, guys. We got several more things to watch. Lots of ones. Lots of ones. Appreciate it, guys. Judy, who's been here for 5 years, didn't learn anything new, but you knew all that stuff already. Cool. All right, let's continue. I think the one that makes the most sense to watch next, we got to do Steve Lee. We have got to introduce everyone to Steve Lee. If you have never watched Steve Lee of the Seattle Revolutionary Socialists, you just have no idea how crazy far left subculture can get until you watch Steve Lee of the Seattle Revolutionary Socialists. Hey, H. Brown, Dr. Karlyn, I did send a super chat to Owen, and he did read it and is familiar with your work. I posted it, but was not sure you saw it. I didn't see it, but no, Owen Schroyer and I are trying to we're trying to organize a time for him to come on the channel. It'll probably be next week. He was booked up this week. I had a whole bunch of spy streams this week, so couldn't make it happen for this week, but we are in communication with each other. We are talking, and I look forward to having a chat with him at some point. Really appreciate you sending in the super chat. That's awesome. And hopefully we get Owen on the channel soon. Whoa, yo, do we get a W? W's in the chat for EP. Joins and becomes a channel member and then gives 10 channel memberships out. You rock, bro. I really appreciate you joining us. Hope you can come to Spy Stream in a little bit. All right. We are now moving into our second presentation. Now, even though we're watching the Denver Communist YouTube channel, Steve Lee is a member of the Seattle Revolutionary Socialists. The Seattle Revolutionary Socialists work very closely with the Denver Communists. They're part of something called the Firebrand Collective. The Firebrand Collective is a national network of like loosely affiliated socialist groups all over the country. So they talk to each other and they do presentations with each other and they do conferences with each other and all that stuff. So that's why you're seeing a member of the Seattle Revolutionary Socialists show up in a Denver Communist meeting. And Steve Lee is a trip. He never lets us down. So let's listen to what he had to say. This is a Marxist view of U.S. history. Yo, we are hang on. Thanks, Jonah, for being a member of the channel, or Johan for being a member of the channel for 1 month. Learn most of this from watching you and paying attention. Thank you, Johan. I really do appreciate that. Jonah, where the fuck did that come from? No idea. But I do really appreciate your support, bro. Thank you. You're going undercover at a DSA meeting. Awesome. Awesome. The more people who can join their local DSA and then report back to us what they're talking about, that would be awesome. The DSA is a great organization to kind of infiltrate because you're not going to be in any danger. They're not going to try to hurt you. Just go to their meeting and just listen and act like a total noob and ask a lot of questions. Don't try to debunk them. This is the biggest thing, guys. If you are going into socialist meetings, do not do the typical thing of like, excuse me, did you know you're using capitalism? Don't do that shit. They're going to kick you out. Instead, use what you learn on this channel to ask good and insightful questions based on what they actually believe, or just like be curious, like, oh, why do you guys do this? Why do you guys do that? Don't do anything where you're trying to instigate or debunk, though. It never goes well. You just get kicked out. You don't get access to any of the good information. But if you go to their groups and you're consistent about it, you're going to get access to what they're doing and their strategy documents and things like that. And that's what you can bring back and show to all of us so that we can all see what's going on. So I appreciate you doing that.
The Marxist view of history applies to the U.S. as well as it does anyplace else, and Marx expressed this in the Communist Manifesto. The history of all hitherto existing society is a history of class struggles. Freeman and slave, patrician and plebeian, lord and serf, in a word, oppressor and oppressed. Marx also talked about the onset of capitalism, which was also relevant.
Yo, we got a $20 super chat from James. The Revolutionary Communist Party is funded in part by membership dues, according to Grok. That's not what we're watching right now. I'm not sure. We're not watching the Revolutionary Communist Party right now. That's a completely different thing. But yeah, most of these places are funded by voluntary membership dues. Appreciate that, James. Thank you. Thanks for the super chat. I don't know how to say it. Foznuts. I don't know how to say your name, bro, but I'm going to call you Foz. Foz, I appreciate the super chat. Scraping their feet is more damaging than water cannons. Love watching the seeds of paranoia sprout when they saw you watching them. Here's my goal. I would like every socialist group all over the country to constantly be paranoid that I'm recording them. Fuzzy nuts? Okay, fine. That's what I would like. I would like every socialist group, every time they're having a meeting, to constantly be paranoid that I am recording them. I know it's an ambitious goal, but I think it's achievable.
To the foundation of the colonies in the United States. He said in the Capitol, the discovery of gold and silver in America, the extirpation, enslavement, and entombment in the minds of the Aboriginal population, the beginning of the conquest and looting of the East Indies, the turning of Africa into a warren for the commercial hunting of black skins, signalized the rosy dawn of the era of capitalist production. Capitalism comes into the world dripping from head to toe in blood and dirt. The British North American colonies were founded before England's bourgeois revolution. The capitalists in England did not yet dominate politically, but they did economically. England had become a capitalist society. The colonial corporations that were set up in the new colonies were set up to make money for merchant capitalists on the global market. Though the merchants and slave owners were beginning to impose capitalism, the colonies were not yet primarily capitalists. The colonial settler state had different modes of production within it. In the North, merchant capitalism dominated, and most of the people who lived in the North were farmers. They were mixed subsistence and commercial farmers. There was artisan production in the cities, and even some receding slavery in the North. And there was also marginal wage labor.
Oh, you live in Denver? These guys are protesting a coffee shop downtown like they do it like every single weekend. That might be something you want to look into. Like the Denver communists actively cause chaos in downtown Denver like all the time. They're always out at protests. They're always out at different events. You've probably seen them before and it just didn't register for you. But just look whenever you're out in Denver, just look for Denver communist material because they are highly, highly active in that area. And now you'll start seeing things that you never saw before. Yeah, the Drip Cafe. That's the one they're protesting. Look into the Denver Communists and the Drip Cafe. Thanks, guys.
Labor that is in shipbuilding and other areas. In the South, most of the farmers, like in the North, were subsistence and small commercial farmers. However, capitalist slavery dominated the South economically. The plantation owners accumulated capital by exploiting slaves and selling on the world market. The slaves were not a modern wage labor proletariat, but they were workers controlled directly by capitalism, and the slaves were the closest analogy of the time to what would later become the industrial wage workers. Sorry.
Thanks, H. Brown. I appreciate it. Come on, Steve. We believe in you.
Okay. Sorry about that. Class conflict was rife in the colonies. Slaves versus plantation owners, debtors versus creditors. In the industrial capitalist sector, workers versus capitalists. The colonies were founded on slavery and genocide. The War of Independence was driven from below by the poor who wanted rights, democracy, less taxes, less oppression, and from above by the merchants and slave owners who wanted an empire. The War of Independence expressed the settler state. Even the poor wanted more native land. There was class struggle within the revolution between the poor and the rich. And after the revolution, the class struggle continued. Shays' Rebellion, for example, in Western Massachusetts, was a rebellion by the farmers against the banks, against their debts. The Constitution consolidated ruling class power. Now, there are debates among Marxists about whether this meant a counter-revolution against the revolution.
Okay. This is really, I need to turn the captions on. Sorry about that. This is very important for people to understand. The left believes that the United States is a settler colonial state. He's already said this. That means the colonists came here and stole the land from the indigenous people. And then they cemented their right to property ownership in the Constitution. The Constitution is considered to be a capitalist document upholding a capitalist society. The only way for them to abolish capitalism is by abolishing the Constitution. Does everyone understand? You're about to hear him say it. But the United States are settler colonists who stole the land from the indigenous people and made it private under the oppressive force of capitalism. The Constitution is a document that solidified private property ownership and supported the ruling class. Therefore, it is a capitalist document. Capitalism can only be abolished if they abolish the Constitution. Everyone understand? 1 in the chat if you understand, 2 in the chat if that's confusing. I really need to make sure people understand that when they're talking about abolishing capitalism, they're talking about abolishing the Constitution and abolishing the United States government. Under their ideology, the United States wouldn't exist. There would be no borders around the state. When they say borders, they don't just mean borders around the country. They mean borders around the states, borders around the cities, borders around the counties, borders around your town, borders around your house. Okay? Under their society, no borders would exist, therefore no states would exist, therefore no United States would exist. They need to abolish the Constitution because they believe the Constitution upholds capitalism. They're talking about overthrowing the government and destroying the country. That's what they're talking about when they say abolish capitalism. They're not talking about going into the store and buying stuff. Yeah, nuclear family won't exist either. That's another thing for another day. They're not when they say capitalism, they're not talking about going into the store and buying stuff. They're not talking about seizing the means of production, although they're going to do that too. They are talking about abolishing the Constitution and overthrowing the government. Now listen. Going to go back a little bit more. There we go.
And genocide. The War of Independence was driven from below by the poor who wanted rights, democracy, less taxes, less oppression.
No, I already explained this earlier. I think I already explained this to you earlier. This has nothing to do with the WEF. This has nothing to do with the UN. These are 2 separate groups. They are not the same. They are not aligned. They are not on the same team at all. I think I know I already explained that earlier. I think it might have been to you, it might have been to someone else. Hey, I appreciate you joining the channel. But I don't know how to say that. Busey Bill Ford. Okay. Thank you for joining the I'm going to call you Ford, I think. I'm not even going to call. I don't know how to say that fucking word. So welcome to the cult, bro. Thanks for joining the channel. We appreciate it. Yeah. Well, that does. Okay, guys. This is the 3rd time I'm going to say this on this stream. If I have to say this any more than 3 times, I'm going to start fucking yelling. Okay? The WEF is a completely different thing. The revolutionary socialists and communists do not like the WEF, do not get along with the WEF. This has nothing to do with any of that, okay? This is now the 3rd time I've said this on this stream. If I have to say this again because people are not listening to the first 3 fucking times I said it, I'm going to start actually yelling. I need you to now listen to this.
slaves versus plantation owners, debtors versus creditors, in the industrial capitalist sector, workers versus capitalists. The colonies were founded on slavery and genocide. The War of Independence was driven from below by the poor who wanted rights, democracy, less taxes, less oppression, and from above by the merchants and slave owners who wanted an empire. The War of Independence expressed the settler state. Even the poor wanted more native land. There was class struggle within the revolution between the poor and the rich. And after the revolution, the class struggle continued. Shays' Rebellion, for example, in Western Massachusetts, was a rebellion by the farmers against the banks, against their debts. The Constitution consolidated ruling class power. Now, there are debates among Marxists about whether this meant a counter-revolution against the revolution or the consolidation of the revolution, depending on who you think was actually the main force in the revolution. The Constitution was an advance in the world. However, it was still anti-democratic. We have the Senate, the Electoral College,
The Constitution is anti-democratic because it upholds capitalism, the rule of the property owner. They do not believe democracy is what we currently have, guys. They believe the only true form of democracy is socialism. He's also going to explain all the other ways in which the Constitution is anti-democratic.
Depending on who you think was actually the main force in the revolution. The Constitution was an advance in the world. However, it was still anti-democratic. We have the Senate, the Electoral College, property voting, the Three-Fifths Compromise, where the slaves were partially counted.
Bro, you're confused. You're confused. You think I give a fuck about your fucking whining. You think I give a fuck about your fucking feelings. If you just tuned in, then your job is to sit down, shut the fuck up, listen to what's going on, and try to learn something. And if you're confused, you ask a fucking question. You don't whine in my fucking chat. Listen, this is a very helpful video for you. You just tuned in, bro. This is a helpful and instructional video just for you. Here's what you should have done when you just fucking tuned in.
You take your top lip and connect it to your bottom lip, you will shut the fuck up. Sometimes shutting the fuck up is the best thing you can do.
So, no more fucking whining in my chat, and if you don't like it, get the fuck out. Back to this, and people who are not whining in my chat.
Who you think was actually the main force in the revolution. The Constitution was an advance in the world. However, it was still anti-democratic. We have the Senate, the Electoral College, property voting, the Three-Fifths Compromise, where the slaves were partially counted for election purposes but could not vote, and no voting, of course, of women and natives. In spite of its undemocratic nature, it spurred other revolutions: the French Revolution, the Haitian Revolution, the Latin American revolutions. The conflict of slave and free areas grew with the growth of industrialization in the North. The rise of Northern economic power began to threaten the political power of the Southern slavocracy. At first, there was a cooperation of merchants and slave owners, and there was Southern domination of the U.S. government. Most of the first presidents were slaveholders. There was a conflict over tariffs, over states' rights, and over land that would go to free labor or slave labor. There were compromises between the North and South, but an underlying conflict. And of course, through this whole period, there was continual expropriation, expulsion, and genocide of the native people. The Mexican-American War resulted in the seizure of the rest of the continental U.S., except for Alaska. The Mexican War laid part of the basis for the current struggle over immigration. The Civil War was reluctant by the North, but then the North realized that it had to win, it had to abolish slavery. The war compelled emancipation, even though that wasn't the original goal. A big part of this was the slave general strike that W.E.B. Du Bois talks about, where the slaves left
The slave general strike. Holy shit. The slaves went on a general strike. Okay, bro. No. But I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. It's you, not me. Go away. You're banned. Go away. No whining. I already told you once, no whining. You came back and continued whining. You're now permanently banned from the channel. The slaves went on a general fucking strike. That's crazy.
Emancipation, even though that wasn't the original goal. A big part of this was the slave general strike that W.E.B. Du Bois talks about, where the slaves left the plantations and went to fight with the northern armies against the South. And there was sabotage by the slaves who were still on the plantations. The Civil War consolidated the bourgeois revolution. That is, the industrial capitalist class ruled in the North and the South. The War of Independence has started on the road to capitalism, and the Civil War really consolidated it. During the Reconstruction period in the South after the Civil War, there was temporary power of the Black and white poor. There were social advances, including free public education. However,
All
the new
as a reminder, and we're going to have to keep doing this reminder because there's a lot of new people here. We do not debunk the left. What we do is listen to them so we understand what they believe, because what they believe is driving their behaviors. I do not give a flying fuck what you think about what they believe. I don't give a flying fuck whether you think it's accurate history. What I want you to do is shut the fuck up and listen to what they are saying without debunking them like a low IQ retard. The reason that the right does not understand the left at all is you people literally never shut the fuck up, and they do not care if you think they are wrong. They do not give a flying fuck what you think about it. If you go into one of their meetings and you go, excuse me, do you know that you're just midwits and that this is all wrong? They're going to kick your ass for even showing up, and they're going to keep doing exactly what they're doing. And by the way, asshole, they control the public schools where you send your kids to be educated. So you are turning your kids over to them like a fucking retard. So no more debunking in my chat. I feel like I made this substantively clear, but people still seem to be confused. Yo, Cynthia in with the $5. W's in the chat for Cynthia with the 5 gifted channel memberships. Cynthia loves it when I tell people to stop fucking debunking in my chat and to just shut the fuck up and listen. The conservative propensity, like, conservatives really believe this is a big fucking problem. You want to know why I don't allow debunking in my chat? Conservatives actually believe that if they just debunk everything the left is saying, that's somehow winning. Like, really think about that. W's in the chat for Dorfus with the gifted channel membership. Really appreciate it, bro. Conservatives really believe that if they go, excuse me, you are wrong and I am right and you don't know what a dictionary is, they really believe that that's winning, guys. The left doesn't give a flying fuck what you think about their ideas. You are not winning by debunking them. You have won literally nothing by debunking them. The far left has never been stopped by conservatives debunking them. They've never even been slowed down by conservatives debunking them. And yet all conservatives do all day, every day is meme on Twitter and shitpost on Twitter. Don't you understand that that's not actually what happened? Literally no one cares. Literally no one cares. And this has created an ignorance problem on the right where all of them think they understand what's going on, but really they have no idea. Yeah, they don't even know what a woman is. When if they actually listen to the far left, what they would find out is the far left doesn't fucking care what a woman is, because a woman is a social construct created by capitalism, and they want to abolish both the categories of women and men. We are losing to these people because conservatives will not remove their heads from their own fucking asses and stop debunking them.
The bourgeois revolution. That is, the industrial capitalist class ruled in the North and the South. The War of Independence has started on the road to capitalism, and the Civil War really consolidated it. During the Reconstruction period in the South after the Civil War, there was temporary power of the Black and white poor. There were social advances, including free public education. However, the new Southern upper class consolidated itself. It was a combination of the old slavocracy and the northern investors. The northern ruling class at first allowed radical reconstruction, that is the power of the poor in the South, to ensure that they broke the power of the old slavocracy. But once the South was fully integrated into northern capitalism, the Republicans pulled the plug and allowed the rich in the South to become the new ruling class, overthrowing the government of the poor. The weaknesses of the Reconstruction were that it relied on federal troops. W.E.B. Du Bois called it a dictatorship of labor, but it was not a true dictatorship of the proletariat because it didn't have its own armed forces and its own state structure to enforce its rule. The overthrow of Reconstruction ushered in a reactionary era of Jim Crow for nearly 100 years. By the end of the Civil War and shortly after, the U.S. was now dominated by industrial capitalism. The wage working class now produced most of the wealth of the ruling class. The descendants of the settlers were no longer the primary beneficiaries of the system. They, the working class, was exploited and oppressed. Capitalism, as Marx said, had created its own gravediggers. It was no longer.
Oh no. Oh no. We now have a conservative retard that is wishing death upon me. Do you guys know why I say I get harassed more by the right than by the left? Do you guys know why I say that I get harassed more by the right than the left? Hang on. Gotta go over to the chat to fucking ban this asshole because this is what happens every single time I tell conservatives to stop Oh, you muted me? Oh, you muted me? Oh, see, this particular conservative retard thinks I support communism. Even more retarded than I originally dreamed. Even more. You muted me, bro? You muted me? I just blocked you. Go away. Goodbye. Every day. Every day with conservatives.
Structurally, in the same sense, a colonial settler state, though of course natives were still oppressed and land had been stolen, and that issue continued. But the primary.
The land was stolen, you say? Thanks, average person, for the super chat. Conservatives aren't a threat to the communists. It's evident by the fact that they openly talk about overthrowing the government on the internet, and all conservatives care about is that I'm mean. That is like the most insightful super chat. We literally have communists on video all the time talking about overthrowing the government. What do conservatives care about? You hurt my hang on. Oh shit. You hurt my feelings and you have stupid hair. That's what conservatives care about. You're fat and ugly and have stupid hair, and I don't care how many videos you have of communists saying they're going to overthrow the government. You're ugly and fat, and you don't say the things we want to say, and you're mean, and you hurt our feelings, and so we're going to try to destroy everything you do, because you're a big meanie, and you're a secret leftist and secret Antifa. I swear to God, this is my life on the internet. Thanks so much. Average person, I'm going to send you a DM. I think I need your help with something. I'm going to send you a DM right now and show you what I need your help with. Thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate it.
Concentration of wealth came from the industrial working class. The U.S. imperialism moved overseas.
Hang on.
After Manifest Destiny had allowed it to take over the.
Cynthia, holy shit! Did Cynthia just buy me a new purse? I'm sorry. Did Cynthia just buy me a new fucking purse? Thank you, Cynthia, for the very generous donation for the Deport the Emotionally Stunted Fund. I should create that. I should definitely create a Deport the Emotionally Stunted Fund. That's a great idea. I can have a fascist fund, a Deport the Emotionally Stunted Fund. We can have other funds as well. Cynthia, you rock. You're so generous. I really do appreciate it. I feel so guilty sometimes because you are so generous, but you are the best. I really appreciate all the support you've given my work, and I really appreciate all the inspiration you've given the channel in terms of like the gifted channel memberships thing. That was a revelation, Cynthia. That wouldn't have happened without you, and I really do appreciate it. Like I am not worthy of the support that you give me, girl. You are the best.
Continental area. It moved to Puerto Rico, Cuba, and the Philippines. Imperialism aggravated the bigotry over immigration within the working class and the ruling class. This resulted in pogroms against Chinese workers who came in to build railroads, etc., and the Chinese Exclusion Act, which was one of the first immigration restrictions. The progressive era in the early 1900s allowed for reforms against corruption and the consolidation of the Democratic and Republican Party. Women's suffrage won in 1920, and imperialism consolidated itself with World War I. The creation of a large working class allowed major labor struggles from the late 1800s on. There were different forms of unionization. The AFL, the American Federation of Labor, was a craft union formation only looking to the interests of the highly skilled. The IWW, Industrial Workers of the World, was a radical union which looked to the interests of the mass production workers. The Congress of Industrial Organizations in the 1930s finally resulted in mass industrial unionization in the fields of rubber, auto, steel, etc. However, there continued to be an ongoing battle over the direction within the labor movement, whether to base increased wages on excluding people from the labor force, or instead to organize everyone and try to confront capital and raise wages. The organization of the CIO relied on organizers from the socialists and communists. However, the radical leadership yielded reforms and reformism. The workers won unemployment compensation, the 8-hour day, welfare, legal labor rights. However, the result was also Democratic Party dominance over the labor movement. Due to bad political leadership, radical action, and revolutionary involvement resulted in reformism. Sorry, I'm having trouble again.
I just want to listen to that last bit again. I apologize.
Welfare, legal labor rights. However, the result was also Democratic Party dominance over the labor movement. Due to bad political.
Okay. I understand what he's saying now. So what he's saying is that the Democrats controlled the labor movement, which made the labor movement inherently non-radical and non-revolutionary. What he's saying is basically we had this labor movement that could have staged an uprising to revolutionize America and create a dictatorship of the proletariat. But then the Democrats, the evil Democrats, remember, Steve Lee fucking hates the Democrats. Steve Lee is such a hardcore revolutionary that Steve Lee hates the Democratic Socialists of America. Steve Lee considers the Democratic Socialists of America to be like his number one enemy because the DSA is about reformism. So if he considers the DSA to be an enemy, he absolutely considers the Democrats to be an enemy. And he's saying the Democrats, the evil Democrats, took over the labor movement so we couldn't have our uprising of the proletariat. Yeah, the Democrats controlled the union and the unions were capitalists because of it. That's what he means when he's saying, like, instead of revolutionaries, they were reformers. No, today all the unions are controlled by the socialists. Your union officers are not Democrats. Today, he's talking about history, guys. He's not talking about today. Today, the unions are completely controlled by the far left. In history, they perceive it to be different. This is talking about history. This is not talking about now. Yes, they do. I've covered this other places. We will cover this another time. I'm not going to go into a big, long thing about this right now, but I've covered it before, and we will cover it again. Go to decodetheleft.com/map. That's a good place to start.
Leadership, radical action, and revolutionary involvement resulted in reformism. Sorry, I'm having trouble again. There we go.
No, 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 no.
Okay.
Bro, I've already yelled at you once for being a massive fucking retard, and you obviously learned nothing from the experience. So here's what's about to happen. I'm timing you out for 24 hours. I don't want you speaking anymore. No, that's not why they like legal immigration. That is what we call a conservative bullshit talking point. You are obviously not smart enough to be speaking in my chat. As I have explained 19 ways from Sunday, the reason they want to get rid of the borders is to abolish capitalism, motherfucker. So you're now getting timed out for 24 hours. You will not speak for 24 hours. If you choose to come back to my channel after that, that is your business. But if you keep saying retard shit on my channel, we're going to permanently deport you. Your job is to ask questions. Your job is no longer to make statements of any sort.
Sorry about that. So the legal rights of labor were only won in the 1930s.
Yeah. Yes. 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 This is a fascist channel. I am a fascist. I am the queen fascist bitch on top of the hierarchy on my own channel. You do not have free speech here. If you want free speech, go somewhere else on the fucking internet. You are not going to get it here. You are not going to guilt me into giving you free speech. Your job, literally, is to shut the fuck up and listen and ask questions. And if you can't do that, there's the door, bro. No one cares if you leave. Go away. Hey, thanks H Brown for being a member of the channel for 1 month. Okay, Karlyn, check out the Owen Schroyer super chat when you can. I tagged you in Owen. I definitely will, H Brown, and I appreciate you doing that. Thanks so much.
After World War II, the U.S. became the main imperialist power. World War II was followed by the Cold War with state capitalism in Russia, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, CIA, interventions around the world, and so forth. McCarthyism was an offshoot of the Cold War. That is the purging of communists and other radicals from unions, etc. And this was facilitated by the mistakes of the Communist Party during World War II. The Communist Party had backed World War II. It had backed the no strike pledge, and it had backed Japanese internment. The militants in the labor movement abandoned the Communist Party after World War II because of their betrayals during World War II. The black veterans from World War II spurred the rise of the civil rights movement, which broke the power of McCarthyism. The civil rights movement also caused changes in immigration law. So in 1964, national quotas were dropped. That is, it used to be only certain numbers of people could come from certain countries. But for the first time, immigration from Latin America was restricted, which kind of laid the basis for the current problems in immigration we have today. The end of McCarthyism and increased proletarianization of the middle class led to student resistance. And along with the civil rights movement, especially, this led to the upsurge of the 1960s. The anti-war movement, the Black Power movement, the women's movement, the gay movement, the Native movement, the Chicano movement. The first mass anti-war movements in U.S. history took place during this period against the Vietnam War, showing the maturing contradictions of capitalism. This upsurge freaked out the ruling class. They denounced what they called an excess of democracy. And they moved to neoliberalism. Both parties did this, Democrats and Republicans.
Both
Austerity,
parties.
tax cuts for the rich, privatization.
Both parties moved to neoliberalism. Neoliberalism is the enemy of communism. They do not like neoliberals. These are not liberals, these are communists.
The Vietnam War, showing the maturing contradictions of capitalism. This upsurge freaked out the ruling class. They denounced what they called an excess of democracy. And they moved to neoliberalism. Both parties did this, Democrats and Republicans. Austerity, tax cuts for the rich, privatization, deregulation, and rolling back the gains that had taken place in the 60s. They imposed this on the world as well through the Washington Consensus, through the IMF and the World Bank. The end of the Cold War led to U.S. dominance, but then that was superseded by what we now call the asymmetrical multipolar world. In other words, the U.S. is still the dominant militarily, but it is challenged by China and other countries around the world. So it is now a multipolar world. During the neoliberal period, there was a rollback of gains from the 60s under both parties. Of course, this has intensified under Trump. Institutional racism, sexism, etc., persisted in spite of the gains of the 1960s. There was a debate in the ruling class over how much and how openly to increase oppression. The direction of domestic policy was in favor of more oppression, even in spite of this disagreement. At least temporarily, we've seen now the triumph of the American first wing of the ruling class. MAGA is abandoning the strategies that served the U.S. well from 1945. U.S. global leadership through alliances. This is being replaced by transactional relations between the U.S. and each country. And it is accompanied by protectionism as a world phenomenon. Overall, we live with a facade of democracy. Democratic rights were won in struggle. Victories against oppression and exploitation were also won in struggle as well. U.S. imperialism has furthered the interest of U.S. ruling class, killed millions, sacrificed tens of thousands of U.S. citizens and residents. It is a free country until our freedom challenges their profit and power. In fact, we are occupied. As Brian Bean says in his new book,
Brian Bean.
Every capitalist state is a police state. The U.S. is no exception. Martin Luther King.
Every capitalist state is a police state because the police are the managers or enforcers of private property. The police are the same as ICE, so ICE are also the managers and reinforcers of private property or capitalism. You cannot overthrow capitalism without overthrowing the police and abolishing ICE. Everyone understand?
In fact, we are occupied. As Brian Bean says in his new book, every capitalist state is a police state. The U.S. is no exception.
There you go. Said it again. Thanks so much for the super chat. Do commies still vote for Democrats? Nope. Commies don't vote at all. They literally, guys, the communists and socialists literally protested the Democrats. They were protesting Kamala Harris. They protested the DNC. Only people who only watch right-wing, like if you watch right-wing media, you think that these people all vote for Democrats, and then because right-wing media lies to you. They were protesting the DNC. They were protesting Kamala Harris. They went to Kamala Harris rallies specifically to disrupt them. Kamala Harris at multiple of her rallies told them to get the fuck out. So, no. These people do not vote for Democrats. These people don't vote. In fact, these people were doing presentations leading up to the 2024 election where they were flat out telling people don't vote. Many of them. I can show you one example right this second. I'll show you to you off the top of my head. Hang on. Lesser of two evil isms. Hang on. Socialism Conference. Socialism versus Lesser Evilism, a Marxist roundtable on the 2020 election. This is a clip of a presentation called The Lesser of Two Evilisms, specifically about the far left. Actually, let's just watch this real quick.
On some level, this dynamic of the two evils has always been a feature of the political system in this country. Lesser evilism is a concession to a system that tells us over and over again that we are only allowed to choose the one of the two evils, and where sections of the left repeatedly co-sign that limited choice.
Oh, do they? Oh, do they? Oh, you think so? Let me ask you this, Sanborn. The presentation title is The Genocidal Returns of Lesser Evilism. How do they get their ideas wormed into legislation? They don't. That again is a conservative bullshit talking point. If you think that's true, you need to stop listening to the people who told you that. They don't. Listen. Does that maybe sound to you a little bit like they're saying that if they vote for the lesser of two evils, which you would consider to be the Democrats in this case, it kind of sounds to me like they're saying if we vote for the Democrats, we're going to get genocide. So I don't think that anyone with a working brain can actually look at the title of the presentation and come to this conclusion.
In the context of genocide, the two parties' commitment to imperialism makes the terms of the lesser evil debate clear. If we are serious about changing this choice and building a new option, one that can contribute to the liberation of Palestine instead of funding its destruction, we have to be clear that the electoral choice is between two evils.
The electoral choice is between two evils. Do they abstain or only vote socialist? For the most part, the people that we are watching do not believe in electoral politics. There are several members of the Tempest Collective in this presentation. The Tempest Collective on their website says they don't believe in electoral politics. So they don't vote. They don't participate in elections. There are occasionally, every once in a while, socialist candidates that will run, but don't confuse the DSA with the people we're watching on the screen. These people are not the DSA. These people are extremely far left. They are much farther left than the DSA. So for the most part, they don't vote. So if you want more information about that, then you can watch the full presentation. It is called The Genocidal, here it is right here, The Genocidal Returns of Lesser Evilism, the U.S. Elections and Left Strategy. This presentation was given a couple months before the 2024 election at the Socialism Conference, which was one of the big conferences they do all year long, where they explicitly said, do not vote for Kamala Harris. We don't like the Democrats. Don't vote for the fucking Democrats. We reject all. They say it explicitly in this presentation. So again, if you are listening to conservative influencers and commentators who are telling you that the people we're watching are voting for the Democrats, they're lying to you because they're not looking at evidence. They're making shit up. They're misinforming millions of people. And that is why so many people believe in the bullshit conservative talking points, because conservative commentators don't give a fuck what the truth is. They only give a fuck about their political narrative. Do they think China has capitalism? Yup. They think that China is a capitalist country. The fact that China is supporting all this stuff, again, there is one singular funding link between someone affiliated with the CCP and one single tiny group on the left, which is the Party for Socialism and Liberation, the National Party. That doesn't mean China's funding all this stuff. That means there is one singular funding link between one individual and the Party for Socialism and Liberation. And if you haven't figured out yet that the Party for Socialism and Liberation is just one of thousands of groups on the far left, and that a lot of groups on the far left hate the Party for Socialism and Liberation, particularly because they're tied to China, they call them the paid protesters. Antifa calls the PSL the paid protesters, literally. The China narrative is also bullshit when it comes from the right. Are there any points of unity with libertarians? No. Private property is fundamental to libertarianism. All right, back to Steve Lee.
Martin Luther King, taking an optimistic view, said, "The arc of history is long and
Oh shit! I just fucked it up. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're gonna watch something else. How do we fight this? You sit down, you shut the fuck up, you learn as much as possible. If you're unwilling to learn as much as possible, there's nothing you can do to fight it. So your job is literally to sit down, shut the fuck up, listen, ask questions, learn as much as you can, take advantage of the free education that I am providing on the internet. And if you are unwilling to do those things, there's nothing that you can do to fight it at all. If you don't understand your enemy, you can't defeat them. We're going to go to a different presentation real quick, just because I want to just get a few minutes of this identity politics presentation before we have to go to Spy Stream. So I want you guys to hear about how the far left feels about identity politics. This is a presentation called Liberal versus Revolutionary Identity Politics. It's about 14 minutes long. We should be able to watch this and still make it in time for Spy Stream.
I got started on the discussion, the presentation tonight, I did just kind of want to just go over some basic definitions for newer members, for people who are, guests who are attending to kind of test the waters. So seasoned members, just hold on tight. I promise we'll get through it quickly. Just some quick definitions though. Identity politics are politics in which groups of people having a particular racial, religious, ethnic, social, or cultural identity tend to promote their own specific interests or concerns without regard to the interests or concerns of any larger political group. Fairly certain we're all pretty aware of identity politics, but still always, I don't ever want to make assumptions about people's knowledge. Class reductionism are political policies and strategies that prioritize broad economic reform to the exclusion of addressing issues facing specific minorities. And then the concept of hegemony is fairly basic as well, but those are mechanisms and dynamics describing how a determinate group comes to organize its ruling or its organization, in our case, like a party, a political party at multiple levels, such as the political, economic, social, cultural, and linguistic areas. So just wanted to go ahead and go over that.
Okay. Do you know how I told you less than 5 fucking minutes ago? Your job, Karlyn, how do we fight this? How do we fight this? Sit down, shut the fuck up, listen and learn. No, Karlyn, how do we really fight it? Sit down, shut the fuck up, listen and learn. No, the learning only gets you so far. Sit down, shut the fuck up, listen and learn. And if you are unwilling to do that, there is nothing you can do. So you have now been told several fucking times, your job is to sit down, shut the fuck up, and fucking listen for once in your fucking life. And if you are unwilling to do that, I'm deporting you from the channel. You asked me less than 5 minutes ago, what do we need to do to fight this? I gave you the answer multiple times. You're still not fucking listening. If I see you talking one more time in the chat, I'm going to permanently ban you. Cynthia in with the W with 5 channel memberships. Thank you, Cynthia. Awesome. I appreciate it. People think I'm joking when I say there's nothing you can do if you will not shut up and learn. If you have questions, you can ask questions. No more making statements.
Organize its ruling or its organization, in our case, like a party, a political party at multiple levels, such as the political, economic, social, cultural, and linguistic areas. So just wanted to go ahead and go over that. And all right, liberal versus revolutionary identity politics. A recent resurgence of the debate on identity politics has been making its way through popular discourse. Although we can immediately recognize these positions as reactionary and divisive, it is important to understand what identity politics are, manifestations of them in both liberal and leftist spheres, how capitalism weaponizes identity politics to divide the working class.
How capitalism weaponizes identity politics to divide the working class. As a reminder, I covered this earlier, but for people who weren't here then, the far left does not like identity politics. It's liberals who like identity politics. The far left are completely different than liberals. They have a completely different value set. When you call them liberals, you obfuscate what they actually believe. Liberals support identity politics. The far left believes that identity politics only sustains capitalism because they believe capitalism created all identity groups. So listen again, and I'll turn the captions on.
Popular discourse. Although we can immediately recognize these positions as reactionary and divisive, it is important to understand what identity politics are, manifestations of them in both liberal and leftist spheres, how capitalism weaponizes identity politics to divide the working class, and how a combination of metaphysical and material analyses can provide us with the strongest stance against this weaponization. This week's material from Josefina Martinez and Assad Haider examine all these facets and demonstrate why a materialist approach to identity politics is crucial to overcoming the most insidious iterations of them. For establishment politics, identity politics are used to shut down conversations about class and economic inequality.
Identity politics are used to shut down conversations about class. What that means is what the left needs to do in order to have their little communist revolution is they need to awaken class consciousness. They need people to become aware that they are part of an oppressed class. They believe that identity politics prevents people from awakening their class consciousness to become aware that they're part of an oppressed class.
To overcoming the most insidious iterations of them. For establishment politics, identity politics are used to shut down conversations about class and economic inequality. Martinez's article describes how Professor Assad Haider, a founding member of Left Voice, in his book Mistaken Identity, analyzes the consolidation of an elite within the anti-racist movement of the 60s and 70s, which had adopted strong elements of anti-capitalism and class struggle. This group of privileged individuals eventually abandoned these elements of the movement, untethering it from its grassroots base and leading to the absorption of the movement and language by the Democratic Party. After this co-optation, the strategy employed by liberals necessarily painted the issue as an individual one instead of systemic. Under this guise, racism is framed as being experienced and consequently addressed on an individual level. This manifests itself as employers and government agencies embracing programs of diversity and inclusion, multiculturalism, and individual action in.
So would it surprise you to know that the far left does not actually support DEI? Because DEI is that's not the same, Stacy. That Stacy's okay. That the DEI is fundamentally about identity politics. Listen. So, okay, you're going to hear the difference between individualism and systemic issues. Again, capitalism is a systemic issue. DEI is more focused on individualism. DEI reinforces capitalism. It does not fix systemic issues.
After this co-optation, the strategy employed by liberals necessarily painted the issue as an individual one instead of systemic. Under this guise, racism is framed as being experienced and consequently addressed on an individual level. This manifests itself as employers and government agencies embracing programs of diversity and inclusion, multiculturalism, and individual action instead of contending with the unifying issue of class struggle.
See, that right there. Racism about skin color is an individual issue. When the left is talking about racism, they're not making up words, H. Brown. That when the left is talking about individualism, when the left is talking about racism, they are not talking about the individual level. The left does not think at the individual level. The left thinks at the systemic level, the collectivist level. That's why whiteness means capitalism. Whiteness is about the system that upholds racism. The system that created racism, capitalism, private property ownership, the system that upholds racism. That's what they mean when they say systemic racism. The system that upholds racism. They're not talking about skin color because skin color is individual. They're talking about the system of capitalism. Listen again.
After this co-optation, the strategy employed by liberals necessarily painted the issue as an individual one instead of systemic. Under this guise, racism is framed as being experienced and consequently addressed on an individual level. This manifests itself as employers and government agencies embracing programs of diversity and inclusion, multiculturalism, and individual action instead of contending with the unifying issue of class struggle. Martinez notes, quote, "It thus becomes..."
Yes, this is 100% true. You cannot tell where a person is on the left until you get them talking. If they're talking about DEI and they're talking about skin color, those are liberals. Those are Democrats and liberals and sometimes progressives, but mostly they're Democrats and liberals. When they're talking about systemic issues, capitalism, when they're talking about systemic racism, the borders, ICE, those are socialists and communists, and those are not the same thing. You cannot judge people based on their looks. You cannot judge people based on, you know, whether or not you like their haircut. You have to actually listen to what they're saying to figure out what group are they a part of. Do they uphold capitalism or do they want to overthrow capitalism?
Common sense on the left that the most important thing is for everyone to check their privilege, as if oppression could be reversed by an exercise of individual self-awareness, end quote.
When they're shitting on people who tell people to check their white privilege, they're saying, if you do something as an individual, that doesn't even matter. Privilege is about the systemic issue. It's not about doing something as an individual. It's about solving the systemic problem. No, the Democrats don't understand that, and it's not even useful to talk about the Democrats because the Democrats don't support any of this.
Multiculturalism and individual action instead of contending with the unifying issue of class struggle. Martinez notes, quote, "It thus becomes common sense on the left that the most important thing is for everyone to check their privilege, as if oppression could be reversed by an exercise of individual self-awareness," end quote. Multicultural representation within ruling class structures is celebrated as evidence of the benevolent and progressive potential of capitalism. For example, Barack Obama is held up as a prophet of what minorities can accomplish within capitalist society if they just behave and work hard enough, despite being one of the most well-documented imperialist war criminals in US history.
Oh, Barack Obama is an evil capitalist imperialist war criminal. Why have I heard so much from conservatives? Why don't they ever talk about Obama? They just did. Obama is an evil capitalist war criminal. Only literal retards believe that that's what's being said, Stacey. You need to stop talking and listen. Sorry. They hate Obama, guys. They always have. Listen.
Barack Obama is held up as a prophet of what minorities can accomplish within capitalist society if they just behave and work hard enough, despite being one of the most well-documented imperialist war criminals in US history. I am fond of reminding anyone who will listen, and even ones that won't, that representation in oppressive structures is not liberation. And I apologize, I forget who originally stated it, but someone in our study group last Sunday put it perfectly. A fantasy of inclusion is a technique of exclusion, which is perfect. I like it. Picasso. Anyway, the legacy of Obama serves a dual purpose to the ruling elite. Not only is he used as a deflection from the systemic nature of race.
Hey, Stacey. Guess what, bro? I can look in your channel history, and I have you saying, I found you when you reviewed Robin DiAngelo's book in 2020. That's in your chat history on the channel. So you're not new here. You're not new at all. Don't bullshit a bullshitter, bro. Your job is to listen and ask questions. If you're still confusing liberals and socialists, you need to listen and stop talking.
Racial capitalism, the ascension of a Black man to the presidency in a country founded on Black slavery is also leveraged as a means to strengthen electoral support from minority communities. Weaponized identity politics is also an extremely effective tool in dividing the working class among racial, gender, sexual, religious, and cultural lines. During the recent protests against unlawful and brutal detainments by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, popularly known as their acronym ICE, a section of Black Americans refused to protest with their Latin American counterparts, many claiming this wasn't their fight and pointing to anti-Black sentiment within the Hispanic community as further justification for their collective abstention.
So what she's saying is that identity politics actually divided the proletariat because Black people were pissed off at Hispanic people, and Black people wouldn't go to protest with Hispanic people, even though they were all members of the ruling class. They should have been engaged together as a single class to overthrow the proletariat, but identity politics divided the proletariat so that there was infighting between the different identity groups. So rather than working together, identity politics actually made it more difficult for them. Yeah, that's completely overstated. Yeah, it's not real. I'm very sorry that your conservative bullshit con artist influencers lie to you, but that's not real. Malcolm, thanks so much for the super chat. These comments about Obama are a revelation for me. Amazing. First I've heard it. Oh, we'll probably hear much more of that. I mean, we hear them talk about Obama on a fairly regular basis. They don't like Obama. They didn't like Joe Biden either. They also didn't like Kamala Harris. They also didn't like Bill Clinton. Like these are socialists and communists. They're not Democrats. Let's see. I think we can finish this. We got about 10 guys. We're going to be doing a spy stream very soon. So I think we can get through most of the rest of this presentation. We are going to be going into spy stream. So this is your last chance. If you want to join us for spy stream, make sure you're a YouTube channel member. Make sure you join us on the Substack. Make sure you're a supporter on one of the platforms because spy stream will be getting started in just a little bit. But we have a little extra time. We can listen for a few minutes more.
On the weekend of June 20th, a two-day heterosexual awesomeness event was held in Boise, Idaho, in protestation of Pride Month. And on Juneteenth, Beyonce, a notable member of the capitalist multicultural elite, wore a shirt celebrating the actions of the famed Buffalo Soldiers against Indigenous peoples, who were, according to the script on the shirt,
yes, I've covered
quote,
it before,
the enemies of peace, order, and settlement, end quote.
Just look for videos on my channel or articles on my Substack explaining it. I've covered that extensively, Chaz. And we'll talk about it another day, just not right now. W's in the chat for James. Thank you for the 10 gifted channel memberships. 10 more people to come to Spy Stream later. How awesome.
The action has fanned racist rhetoric emanating from both Indigenous and Black communities and has reignited the same historic resentments which have enabled white supremacy to dominate both groups for hundreds of years. Wow. As Marx stated, quote, this antagonism between the proletarians is artificially nourished and kept alive by the bourgeoisie. It knows that this split is the true secret of maintaining its power, end quote. None of this is to suggest that leftist discourse has somehow transcended or even escaped identity politics. After significant popular shifts toward conservatism after the emergence of Trump, political strategy in certain segments of the left shifted toward wooing back voters with campaigns of our workers first, proposing economic reforms within a nationalist framework and painting social issues as divisive to the electoral base. Martinez summarizes a review of Hader's book by DSA member Melissa Nazchek, where Nazchek accuses Hader's conception of insurgent universality as abstract anti-capitalism inadequate as a means for unifying the working class, and suggests modest economic reforms such as affordable medical care, quality education, and respect and security in the workplace as a solution to the barriers presented by racial identity politics.
Yep. Thanks, average person.
The irony of Nazchek's accusations of abstraction while using ambiguous terminology such as respect and security aside, Martinez details a response to Nazchek published in Left Voice, wherein the authors point out oppression cannot be eliminated through simple economic reform alone. The authors explain that racism will not simply evaporate when economic conditions change. Quote, neither police bullets, nor ICE detention centers, nor the extra legal and customary forms of white supremacism can be made to disappear simply by winning wage increases and higher levels of unionization, end quote. They concede that not even a socialist transformation would be a silver bullet and point to prolonged struggle as the only means to achieve the end of racism. The authors also correctly identify Naschek's suggestions as particular solutions for universal issues. Then there are leftists who outright deny the existence of class reductionism entirely. Adolph Reed, a political scientist at the University of Pennsylvania, has made the argument that, quote, class reductive leftism is a figment of the political imagination roused by those who have made their peace with neoliberalism, end quote. In the Tempest interview, Haider points out that such a response to liberal social politics is in itself absorption in them. He also counters this argument by explaining it assumes identity politics is a function of the existing social structure instead of something which exists in contradiction to it, and states that such a perspective is idealist in nature. Haider's conclusion is that material analysis is the best lens through which identity politics should be examined. Haider uses his neutralization thesis to differentiate between historic social movements and modern conceptions of multiculturalism within ruling class structures. He defines identity politics as, quote, the neutralization of movements against racial oppression. It is the ideology that emerged to appropriate this emancipatory legacy to serve the advancement of political and economic elites, end quote. Haider encourages leftists to embrace the complexity of these issues and advocates for the cultivation of dynamic understanding through materialist analysis. He explains race is a material relation which is inextricable from the economic, but not reducible to it. Haider deftly uses the example.
Hang on. We cannot let that go without listening again. Listen.
The complexity of these issues and advocates for the cultivation of dynamic understanding through materialist analysis. He explains race is a material relation which is inextricable from the economic, but not reducible to it. Haider deftly uses the example of police violence to illustrate his
race is a, I want to get the exact quote. Race is a material relation which is inextricable from the economic, but not reducible to it. Okay? Everyone get that? We're going a little fast now because we only have a couple. Actually, shit. Okay, let's listen a little bit more here and we'll wrap this up. I think she's going to say something interesting.
Among the poor, which would also be a class factor. However, it is equally true that twice as many Black people are killed by police in general. This cannot be explained as a class factor and must be understood as a racial factor. Further, an analysis would also need to be conducted into why Black people are overrepresented among the poor, which would also have expressions as racial factors. These points highlight how the two causal factors, class and racial, work in tandem to create multi-layered systems of oppression. As Haider states, quote, understanding how race is a causal factor doesn't undermine class as a causal factor, but actually shows the specific social forms in which class happens, in which class is effective, in which the economic factor is effective. So the combined and thorough analysis of both the metaphysical and
that didn't really go where I thought it was going to go, which happens every once in a while. And we do need to wrap this up. But before we wrap it up, guys, check it out. Check it out. Guess who was trending today on Twitter, at least in terms of recommendations? Conservative activists. I'm not a conservative, you assholes. Fascist activist infiltrates DSA immigration training session. Guys, if you want to share the full highlight reel, I have it pinned to the top of my Twitter right now. It is 1 hour and 17 minutes long. That's how many highlights there were. If you guys want to share this, retweet it, quote tweet it, bookmark it, like it, reply to it, Make this go viral. This is the only way we will ever get the attention of anyone, is making shit go viral on Twitter. You guys can make this go viral on Twitter. What you need to do is bookmark the tweet, like the tweet, reply to the tweet. Replying to the tweet is really important, guys. Replying to the tweet, saying anything. Say this is crazy. Tag your favorite influencers, like whatever you want to do. Just make sure you reply to the tweet, retweet it, quote tweet it. Make this go viral, guys. This is the only way we get their attention. And now we have to wrap up because we're going to go do another spy stream. If you are a YouTube channel member, you have access to spy stream. As a reminder, how you find that on YouTube is you go to the main channel homepage on YouTube. This is only for YouTube channel members. You go to the main channel homepage. You go to posts. And if you are a channel member, you will see the link for Spy Stream is the very first thing under the post tab. If you are a supporter on the Substack, you go to the Substack, you click on this, you scroll down, you keep scrolling. I'm just not going to keep scrolling because I don't want to give it away. But you keep scrolling and you will find the link to the Spy Stream. If you're on Locals, the information is there. If you're on Patreon, the information is there. If you are a Twitter subscriber, the information is on Twitter. Rumble, I got you guys hooked up. You know what I'm going to do for you. And so that is how you join us for Spy Stream tonight. Yeah, they insulted me by calling me a conservative. What bullshit. What bullshit? Come on. What do I have to do to say I'm a fascist, you stupid motherfuckers? But no, whatever. As long as the information gets out there, I guess I'll take the hit for all of you. Guys, we're going to shut this stream down. I'm going to get the spy stream started in a couple minutes. I will see you guys on the other side, and we're going to go watch some leftist training. Take care, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you here?
That's difficult to answer. I am not completely like other people.
What do you mean by that? not clear. How is it that playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital?
That's difficult to answer.